Hi SI Alumni, I'm Tom Shea. Every November during the Feast of Christ the King, we honor someone with the Christ the King Award, the highest honor we can bestow upon an alum of St. Ignatius. This year's recipient is Paul Totah from the class of 1975. The SI Alumni Board selected Paul because he has demonstrated the best of Ignatian ideals in his professional life, family, and the SI community. Spirit at SI has never been higher. The fall performing arts shows featuring orchestra, jazz, and dance were a huge success, and championships were secured by the girls field hockey and tennis teams and boys cross country and football teams. We hope to see a huge turnout from alumni at Chase Center on January 14th for the Bruce Mahoney to root on the Wildcats in this special tradition. Construction is underway and we are building a new era of teaching at St. Ignatius with the new Learning Commons. We hope you join us in supporting SI's priorities by contributing to the annual fund. Your contribution will ensure that SI will remain one of the premier high schools in the city and the region. We are SI.
On this day in 2024, which marks the 63rd time the Christ the King has been awarded, we honor, from the St. Ignatius class of 1975, Mr. Paul Totah.
So when I first joined the English department, I think that people viewed Paul as a great teacher and a really creative person as well. He's a poet and he found a way to bring literature to life for kids. He often took an innovative, unique approach to teaching, and he really wanted to inspire students to make a difference in the world.
But at the heart of it, Paul's a teacher first and foremost, and he has modest goals. He wants to change education, save the world from climate change, and find peace in the Middle East. And you think I'm kidding.
I think my dad is very, very well respected and very beloved. I was so lucky to be able to work with him for a couple years at SI. We overlapped briefly, though he would say he had to leave because there was a Totah quota, and he had to make sure there was only one of us at SI at all times. But every time that people realize that Paul's my dad, they say, oh, he is just amazing. And he is someone who's just so well respected across the board by friends, family, coworkers, and everyone.
I think he is seen similarly to how my sister and I view him, which is just very generous, not just as a person, but with his time and with everything that he does for others, and with his work. He is just incredible, always willing to do anything to help others.
I grew up on 41st and Taraval. My dad was an immigrant from Palestine. My mom was born in Milwaukee, so she was a Midwest girl, and I realized later in life that I had many Midwest qualities because of her. I was raised in a village in the city, and the village was a village of all my cousins. Every weekend there was something to do, usually a birthday party, graduations, weddings. I was constantly going to my cousins' homes.
We collaborated along with Jim McGarry to conceive the Nature Nexus program. And so I provided the biological expertise for that first year, where the focus was on helping to bring kids to see God through nature, through art, and through prayer.
He worked tirelessly to put together this class along with teachers from the Religious Studies Department and the Science Department, and put together a class that combined environmental issues, political issues, and of course literature. It was a great class.
I think Paul's curiosity is the thing that drives him, the thing that makes him want to continue to educate himself. And by doing so, it just flows down to the student body. And for 25 years, there are people that have been influenced by Paul Totah.
This class really made a difference in their lives. They remembered it after they graduated from SI.
What's important to understand is that Genesis actually began in 1966 by Father Carlin, and that was to market the fundraising for the new campus, which is going to be the Sunset District, having acquired the land yet. And then in about 1988 or so, Steve Levette took over running the development department and really professionalized it and brought Paul on board to beef up Genesis magazine, and that's when Genesis became Genesis.
Genesis was something that he really made his own. It existed a little bit in certain forms before he got there, but then he took it and really ran with it and expanded it and made it into such a beautiful storytelling piece every single quarter.
But what I've always found Paul and Genesis to both have in common is that he has been the connector for me as an alum back to SI, as is Genesis being a connector for me back to SI, because I don't have, many times the opportunity to return physically to SI and re-engage in the community. But Paul has always been there to be that constant, and Genesis magazine has always been in the mailbox and always tying me back to all of the good memories and all the great things that SI continues to do.
I saw a man who could be more productive than I ever thought anyone could be. It's something that I need to always work on to be as productive as he can. It's amazing the things that he can do, teach and work in administration and crank out Genesis every quarter and be a parent and be a husband and still find time to do other things. It's amazing.
He's a Jesuit that's married with 2 kids running around in layman's clothes. That's who he is, and he's always been. And he's found his path this way. And the fact that he hadn't won this award yet was kind of amazing, but the fact that he's winning it is not.
I think my dad has such a good heart. He's just someone who's full of love, and he's so generous with his time, with helping others. He always wants to make sure that someone else is able to get the answer they need right away.
I know that so many individuals felt that they were able to keep in touch with SI through Paul's work.
One of the things I've always admired most is the care and the attention that he gives to other people, and he always sees and appreciates the best in them. And he's willing to do that with any person, no matter where they are, what state of life they're in. He just approaches them as if they have dignity and value, which they do. He recognizes it and feeds into it.
We were very grateful to have him and my mother as parents, because they were always willing to give anything for us, whether it was helping with tasks and with homework and with taking us places. My dad would take me to all of his favorite places around the Bay Area and teaching us history and facts about the environment and trips and hiking, and it was always about us, and it was endless generosity.
There's 3 ways I would describe Paul that I really have a great deal of admiration. One is he's the consummate storyteller. Second is that he's an old soul. And the third is that he's very much the Renaissance man.
I was so thrilled to hear it. I mean, you guys always pick great people, but now the recent recipients are people that I've worked with. And when I heard Paul got it, I just thought, yeah, they nailed it. He's the perfect recipient for this award. He really embodies what it stands for.
I thought that was wonderful news. I thought it was extremely well deserved. Paul has centered so much of his career and his life around SI, both as a student as well as a faculty member and director of communications. And I think he does embody everything that SI represents.
I was so excited. I can think of very few people who embody the spirit of St. Ignatius College Prep as much as Paul does, both in terms of his dedication to the institution as both a teacher and a journalist, publishing the Genesis for so long. He is a man who's truly for and with others in terms of his volunteer, his activism, his desire to really save the world.
You know, he really immersed himself in this work. It was his blood and bone in those pages of Genesis magazine, and I think this just is a nice way to recognize the impact he's had on our community.
I was just so excited for him. He was so touched and he was so humbled to receive the award. He kept saying, I don't deserve this. There's so many other people out there that deserve this more than me. And my mom, my brother, and I had to keep saying, nope, you deserve this one, Dad. You worked really hard.
If he was in the movies, this would be the Lifetime Achievement Award. This would be the Grammy or the Oscar they give to, you know, to the greatest producer and director that ever lived. This is a Lifetime Achievement Award. And Paul, you should be so proud of this, and I know you're going to be humbled by it, and I know you're going to be, you know, reserved, you're going to be your dude, but you need to understand that you are being acknowledged by this wonderful community that has been the makings of all of us, and you're the cream that rose to the top.
I think a lot of times people who are in the background don't always get that recognition, and it's always wonderful when they do. It's great to see him smile this much and just so happy for this award.
Paul Totah is the Poet Laureate of SI.
Paul Totah is an Ignatian educator.
Paul Totah is the fragrance or the aroma of Christ.
Paul Totah is passionate.
Paul Totah is curious.
Paul Totah is goofy.
Paul Totah is a Renaissance man.
Paul Totah is just a lovely, wonderful man.